Hello, level cast learners. Today, we learn about history. We learn about a big problem. This problem was called the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was a very serious time. It happened many years ago. It happened in 1962. Two big countries were involved. The United States was one country. The Soviet Union was the other country. Cuba was a small island. Cuba was near the United States. The Soviet Union put big weapons in Cuba. These weapons were missiles. Missiles can fly far. Missiles can carry bombs. These bombs were very strong. The United States did not like this. The United States felt fear. The United States felt danger. The world felt danger. People were very scared. They thought war would start. A big war. A war with very strong bombs. This was a scary time for many people. It was a time of great worry. We will learn more about this time. We will learn what happened next. We will learn about the people. We will learn about the choices. This story is important. It teaches us about peace. It teaches us about talking. It teaches us about big problems. Let us begin our story. The story of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It is a story of danger. It is a story of hope. It is a story of talking. It is a story of peace. Many people remember this time. It was a moment in history. A very big moment. The world watched. The world waited. What would happen? This was the big question. The United States saw the missiles. American planes took pictures. The pictures showed the missiles. They showed the missile sites. The President of the United States was John F. Kennedy. President Kennedy saw the pictures. He was very worried. He knew this was a big problem. The Soviet Union was far away. Cuba was very close. The missiles in Cuba were a big threat. They could hit American cities fast. President Kennedy had to act. He had to think fast. He had to make a choice. What would he do? He talked to his helpers. He talked to his advisors. They had many ideas. Some people said, attack Cuba. They wanted to bomb the missile sites. They wanted to destroy the missiles. But this was dangerous. This could start a war. A very big war. A war between the two big countries. A war with strong bombs. Other people said, talk to them. They wanted to find a peaceful way. They wanted to avoid war. President Kennedy listened. He thought hard. He did not want war. He wanted peace. He made a plan. He chose a plan. He said, no ships can go to Cuba. This was a blockade. It was a naval blockade. American ships stopped other ships. They stopped ships going to Cuba. Especially Soviet ships. They wanted to stop more missiles. They wanted to stop more weapons. This was a strong message. It was a clear message. The United States was serious. The world watched. The world held its breath. This was a very tense time. Everyone waited. What would the Soviet Union do? Would they stop? Or would they fight? Soviet ships were on their way. They were going to Cuba. They had more missiles. They had more weapons. American ships waited. They waited in the ocean. They waited near Cuba. The Soviet ships came closer. They came very close. The world was very scared. This was the most dangerous moment. People thought war would start. A war right now. A war with big bombs. A war between big countries. President Kennedy sent a message. He sent a message to the Soviet leader. The Soviet leader was Nikita Khrushchev. President Kennedy said, take your missiles out of Cuba. He wanted the missiles gone. He wanted peace. Leader Khrushchev sent a message back. He said, "No." He said, "We will not take them out." But then, another message came. It was a secret message. It was a different message. Leader Khrushchev said, "We will take them out." He said, "But you must promise something." He asked for a promise. He asked the United States to promise. Promise you will not attack Cuba. This was a big moment. This was a big choice. President Kennedy thought. He talked to his helpers. He decided to make the promise. He said, "Yes, we promise." He said, "We will not attack Cuba." This was a big deal. This was a turning point. This was the moment of hope. This was the moment of peace. The world waited. The world hoped. The world prayed. Would it work? Would they agree? Would the missiles go? This was the big question. The Soviet Union agreed. They took the missiles out of Cuba. They put them on ships. They sent them back home. The United States watched. They made sure the missiles were gone. The danger was over. The big problem was solved. There was no war. There were no big bombs. There was peace. People were happy. The world was safe again. This was a big relief. It was a very important time. It showed that talking can work. It showed that leaders can make peace. Even in very hard times. Even when there is much fear. The Cuban Missile Crisis taught a lesson. It taught about talking. It taught about understanding. It taught about avoiding war. It taught about peace. Leaders learned from this time. They learned to talk more. They learned to be careful. They learned to avoid big fights. The world learned too. It learned that peace is important. It learned that war is bad. It learned that people can work together. Even when things are very hard. This was a big story. It was a story of fear. It was a story of hope. It was a story of peace. It was a story of the world. It was a story for all of us.
Hello! We learned about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes, it was a scary time.
The United States and Soviet Union had problems.
Missiles were in Cuba.
Cuba is near the United States.
President Kennedy was worried.
He made a blockade.
No ships could go to Cuba.
This was a strong message.
Soviet ships came close.
The world feared war.
President Kennedy talked to Khrushchev.
Khrushchev was the Soviet leader.
They sent messages.
They talked about peace.
The Soviet Union took missiles away.
The United States promised not to attack Cuba.
No war started.
This was good.
Talking helped.
Peace is important.
That was a great lesson. Keep learning, Levelcasters.
Thank you for watching. See you next time on Levelcast.